Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Decided to go ahead and get some new assets thrown up here to get a bit of a page out of Sarah's book, since she is constantly complaining that my stream setup isn't HD enough. So I redesigned the mascot for the channel, making it more Thundercat centric, since that is, usually what I like to discuss on this channel. And I drew an entire backdrop and everything for everything to go with. At some point, I might throw the bird and his cage in the background there, but right now, this is what we're going for. And because I use Discord on browser, I have to use a roundabout to get this thing to react this way. So it's kind of neat. It's kind of neat. So let me go ahead and say hi to everybody who's in the chat currently. We got Nico Safer. Hopefully you can join us later. Papa Hud69, Samuel Russell, Spatar, Clay's Custom, Exalted Speed. Always good to see you here. Gaia Dragon, Bonsai Galsby. Bonsai Galsby. Jesse Gerardo, Smith the Crow, Amazing Bro, British Carver Guy, Ranbo TV, Leandro, Secret Formula Thief, Just Plain Reviews, Scribe Wizard, Jordan, Spyro the F-Boy, Aquamarine UK, Melody the Purple Artist, Gussie Guro, odd that you're here, Panda Girl, Irish Warrior, Strawberry Shortcake, Mythic Moon, One of None, Galaxy Paradise, Geigenmeister, Jordy the Cookie, JTJC, John Caulfield, Keith Chaos, Cygnus Jacqueline, Red Carp, Denny Nutmeg, Spring Bunny Productions, and that's it so far. Expanding universes. Okay, so when it comes to Space Marines, since I was asked earlier in this, I don't play Warhammer, so I have absolutely no clue how to answer you. So, yeah. We got Motu Thunder in my DMs, crying bitter tears. Hold on. You're gay. There we go. Now, moving on from there. What we're going to discuss today are three topics, if we can get to every single one of them. First of all, I'm glad if you guys are enjoying this, and the lion will still be around. That's why this design is kind of a mixture between a Thundercat aesthetic and the Lio Convoy from Transformers, which is why you got the shoulder pauldrons as they are. We're going to talk about three different things. Happy birthday, Samuel. Didn't know you just turned 17. So, the way this thing responds, by the way, is via the mic. So when I'm not talking, it's looking at the screen. Like that. And when I am, I'm just talking. So it's kind of cool. So, we're talking about three things tonight if we can do it. Thank you, Vinkman. We're talking about, number one, Nerdzoic, and how he responds to crowdfunding, because he mentions retro blasting in this, and I would like to have some words about it. Next thing, we're going to talk about CartoonBrew, who got in some trouble a little while ago for allegedly doxing Rebecca Sugar. Ooh. And I'm going to have some interesting takes there. And if we have time, we're going to go into the latest Super7 interview on We Want More Thundercat, who always kills the comments because he's a pussy. So, I'm doing all right. So let's go ahead and see if we can get started here. So, why don't I just clear, this is the Nerdzoic channel sitting at 39,000 subs. And let me go ahead and put something else here because I added something a little cute. So while I'm watching the regular video, you guys can kind of enjoy an off-kilter video of the bird. There we go. Centered out a little more. Anywho. Why? Because I can. Anyways, Nerdzoic is a primarily Marvel Legends guy from what I've seen. He does a lot of value lists. And it's actually pretty interesting because while I'm not a fan of Marvel Legends in like any way, shape, or form, I think it's really cool that he is really fond of the numbers game, trying to find how much these things are worth and all that. That I do kind of find cool, I'm not interested, and I do listen to his channel, but specifically what he says concerning crowdfunding, I find odd, because the video is, crowdfunding is not bad for collecting and other non-pet peeves. I don't know how we're going to approach the other things, but let's go ahead and have a listen to the video itself, and hopefully it comes through right.
One of the hot topics in the toy world of late has been crowdfunding projects, like those provided by places like HasLab and Mattel Creations. Many of my fellow toy tubers, like Retro Blasting, take exception to this and find it borderline repulsive that billion-dollar companies need our money to begin production.
Okay, first thing, qualifier here. Retro Blasting did not say that he finds it borderline repulsive. He just said that it's repulsive. So correction there. And for the most part, I agree. There are some aspects of crowdfunding that are not necessarily bad, but we'll get into. But I want to hear what his reasoning is here.
But I gotta be honest, it doesn't bother me. And this got me thinking about other things about the action figure world that seem to be pet peeves for some people, but not for me so much. So today we're gonna talk about my non-pet peeves and why these things do not really bother me. And to be honest, some of these are slightly hot takes, but I'll explain. Oh, and yeah, I'm going to start off with crowdfunding.
All right, so we're going to skip to that portion because he runs his own independent toy store. That's what he goes into, essentially.
Beginning is crowdfunding. Now, I've heard all the complaints about crowdfunding. Why does a billion-dollar company need to have crowdfunding? They just want to take your money and hold on to it for a year. This is just corporate greed. Listen, I'll be the first to say that some of these toy companies, Hasbro, certainly have kind of succumbed a little bit to greed in certain ways.
Then why are you talking about it using a derogatory tone of voice? Because, like, yeah, that's literally what they're doing. Now, I know morons like Spectre, who, by the way, has not responded to my call out at all because he's a pussy. He has tried to explain, well, on the books, they list it as this, that. That's never the argument anybody ever made. The argument is it sits in random bank accounts for like a year and collects interest. It doesn't matter how they list it on books. That's literally what they do. So let's go ahead and hear.
Ways, but I don't think this is one of the examples of it. Let me rephrase that. I don't think crowdfunding in general is an example of it. Specific HasLabs, looking at you Ghost Rider car thing, yeah, that's a cash grab. But as a whole, no, I don't think it is. Now, why do I think that, and why do I think this is a good thing? These are figures that, frankly, would never get made if the orders were not locked in.
I don't agree with that. And more importantly, if you're that concerned about it, instead of doing a crowdfunding, why not just do a minimum order quantity and go from there? Which, of course, one could argue that is what they're doing, but that's not what they're saying they're doing, right? What they're saying they're doing is that it's crowdfunded, which is not the same as like made to order. As much as I hate to use them as an example, Super7 does made to order. If that's what Hasbro was doing, we would have less of an issue. And the examples he's giving of like Galactus and the Star Wars vehicle, no, there are things on the doggone shelves that are just as big that may not necessarily be in the action figure aisle, some of which are, though. I mean, we did have Castle Grayskull a couple years ago re-released, and they're doing Snake Mountain, so I see that as a bit of a non-starter there. But for other things, like, say, the Star Saber, who I did back, and I got him in literally this weekend, as well as the Deathsaurus I'm backing, maybe more of an argument there because of how obscure they can be. Now, for things like the Proton Pack for Ghostbusters, that's a different story altogether, so let's continue.
Take the money not because they need or even necessarily want that money. I mean, it doesn't hurt for cash flow, but the whole point of getting people to pay for the orders before it goes into production is to get rid of the cancellation rate. People don't really take into account how big cancellations are. Cancellation rate in general is huge. By getting the money up front, you are locked into making the purchase, whether they...
The problem is that every store has either a credit or they pay up front. He runs a toy store. He knows this. I don't know why he's trying to make that argument. It's so weird.
Get the money now or later is kind of insignificant. No, it's not insignificant to us, but as you'll see in a minute, it is kind of insignificant to them. They need that number locked in because they need to know how many to make. So with those locked in orders, that means...
Or they can just take the risk like they have been for like almost a century now. You know, like they're supposed to.
You get a locked-in number for like a print run, and the higher that number...
Why should we be the ones that pay for their ventures in that case? That's very strange. It seems a lot more like random consumerism than it is a logical argument.
Is the better, and obviously cancellations lower that number. Why is it important that they sell more? Because the prices don't scale equally. The cost of producing 1,000 of figure X is way more expensive than 10,000 of figure X.
Well, yeah, that's why it should be moved to stores. That's the entire point. If their argument is, well, we need to make that money, then sell it to stores. It's not that hard. You have all these giant, like, electronic vehicles, these Power Wheels for kids that are still in every store. Like, that's why there's the joke that there's a vehicle called the ThunderTank, which is just a child-sized tank that you can find at Walmart, that's literally less than the Super7 ThunderTank that they're producing for almost $500.
Now, obviously not on an overall, on a per unit basis, that is. The reason for that is you pay up front for the tooling, for the mold, for the sculpting. Once all of that's done, then it's just mass production. But the actual creation's where the money is. Now let's talk about the cash for a minute. So like I said, the cash is indeed nice for them, but to be honest, it's a drop in the bucket. Let me give you an example. Look at the Marvel Legends HasLab.
Oh, that's bullpiss. These corporations don't sit there and make stuff like this to say, well, we're going to put all this into marketing, all this into funding, all this into parts, all these prototype, labor, paint, just because we want to. Not because we think we're going to make money on it, just for the fans. They don't do that. Who are you kidding?
Galactus. This is the best-selling HasLab they did. They sold about 31,000 of these, which if you extrapolate the cash, you're looking at about $12.3 million in cash money. Anyway, they get $12.3 million in cash paid by us up front. Here's the thing. Hasbro's assets, on average, at the end of the last few years, has been about $3.4 billion.
Yeah, and look what they did this year. They're trying to gouge people for magic cards that are $1,000 for a reprint.
If you do some math, that $12.3 million that they got from Galactus up front equates to about 0.36% of all their assets. Is literally a drop in the bucket. And if we're just talking cash, based on their cash...
Wait, hold on. So you're saying that because of this, therefore that's a drop in the bucket? Well, I mean, every project they do is a drop in the bucket by that measurement. That doesn't mean they don't want to squeeze out money for it. That doesn't mean they do it because they want to do it for the fans. They do it because they know we'll pay for it.
Cash on hand for the last couple of years averaged together, it's only about 1.23%, so it's not a huge amount of that either. It's even more telling with Mattel. Look at the Eternia playset.
No, I'm not doing commentary. If I was doing commentary, I'd probably be more emotional. I'd probably put gameplay footage. I just had the bird.
They brought in about $5.1 million in cash. That represents about 0.08% of their overall assets and about 0.7% of their average cash flow. The bottom line is getting the cash up front. It might not be something they need to do as a billion-dollar company, but it's a smart, shrewd way of mitigating risk. A flop that large would kill their profit margin. And I know you're saying, I don't care about their profit margin, but you need to, because potentially that would drive up the costs. So while you really might not care about their money, I get that, but in some regards, you have to realize that they're going to pass along the cost down to you.
You know, unless they're a sensible company like Arizona Green Tea or Valaverse. Isn't that fascinating? All these price hikes, Arizona Green Tea still 99 cents, Valaverse ate those costs. Freaking McFarlane ate those costs. So these smaller companies, literally smaller companies, can eat these costs, but these larger multi-billion-dollar corporations can't. Are you really trying to sell people on that? Boy, you're goofy.
The next thing that really doesn't bother me that a lot of people complain about is repaints and repacks. Now I hear collectors in Star Wars, it's always like, hey, that Cantina alien who was on the screen for 0.017% of a second, we haven't gotten that.
I'll have you know, Thundercats had 3 games. One for the Amiga. I have it. I can't play because I don't have an Amiga. One for Toonami, which was oddly enough rebranded into an Ed, Edd n Eddy game. And then the DS one for the 2011 series. So, no. There'll be none of that.
Figure yet. And then you guys just gave us 1,000 new Mandos. I hear you loud and clear. I get it. I get the frustration. I love that we're all so passionate about the hobby, but there's new collectors coming in. There has to be new collectors coming in, because if there's not, the hobby would die.
That's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true, because, like, as much as certain balding individuals try to point out the idea that most toy sales are marketed to literal children, I don't think that's accurate based on marketing and the type of product that's primarily in toy shelves at this point.
Ergo, having repaints and repacks...
Oh, in answer to your question, Grim, I had a lot of help. Rosie helped me a lot to get this up and running.
...is good for new collectors. For example, look at the VHS box X-Men animated series figures that have been coming out over the past year. All of these are repacks of pretty expensive figures. Now, they did some minor upgrades with cell shading and whatnot. I say that 10 times fast. Shell shading.
Yeah, the cell shading on Wolverine makes it look like he pissed his pants.
Cell shading. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, they're the same figure. It's ironic that the people who complain about the amount of repacks are the same ones who complain that figures that are older go for a ton of money. Like, pick one or the other. Reusing molds or reusing figure parts has...
Very rarely do people complain about that unless it's not accurate to the character, to be completely honest. Like, Transformer fans, for the most part, we don't complain if the Starscream mold is used for Thundercracker, Skywarp, the Rainmakers, and slight retooling for thrust dirge and ramjet. I'm guessing this is a Marvel Legends complaint mostly, which is odd.
Has been a common process in the toy industry since forever, and this is one of the things that helps keep the cost down. If they did a custom mold for every figure or even every fifth figure, yeah, we'd be paying like Mafex and Mezco prices for.
No, you wouldn't. Thank you, Panda Girl 16, $20 super chat. Can't believe you're doing commentary loud. Can't believe you went to the. I'm not doing commentary. I've literally done this for years.
Hasbro figures. All right, maybe not that high, but it'd be a lot higher. It makes sense for them to use.
Also, real quick, like he's saying that they're the same price as Mafex and all that. No, the Super7 has original molds for a lot of their toys, and they charge more than they should. But it's not Mafex prices. If Mafex ever did like any of the line Super7 does, Super7 wouldn't have jobs anymore.
Use these molds as often as they can, though admittedly some molds are way overused and some are too obvious, like the controller Thanos, like, oh wow, look at that, it's the same thing.
Well, yeah, because the characters are designed similarly, and I don't know if Marvel Legends fans actually complain about that.
And of course the infamous Bucky Cat mold. So to sum up, on a whole reusing parts isn't bad, but sometimes the amount that we reuse them is bad.
Thank you, Jamations, for $13 MX, whatever that means.
That makes sense. The next thing that doesn't really bother me, and this is with a gigantic asterisk, is price increases. The asterisk is within reason. Inflation's terrible, gas prices are up, food prices are up, literally the cost of everything is up. So it's understandable that toy companies need to adjust. Hasbro kept their 6-inch figures at $19.99 for about 6 years. Believe it or not, since the year 2000, that is the longest period Hasbro ever went without raising prices. I had no problem with them moving to $22.99. $24.99 though, that was a little much in the same year.
Well, then maybe you need to look at the reason why, because here's the truth of the matter, and nobody likes to address it. All of this pricing is man-made. And if people agreed that it should be lower, it would be lower. And again, other smaller companies can eat the price, so why can't multi-billion-dollar corporations? It's bizarre. It's kind of a dumb argument to try to make.
But I get it. Unprecedented time in the economy. Even McFarlane Toys is moving to a $22.99 MSRP next year. Now,
yeah, after he's, fought that. But more importantly, have you seen McFarlane's toys in comparison to other things? They're larger in scale. They have their issues, not gonna lie. So, Spider Criminal, if you're listening to this, we ain't gonna beef, don't worry. But, that's still more reasonable than Marvel Legends right now, wanting, $55 for a 2-pack. You are kidding yourself.
Don't get me wrong, I am not defending some of the weird pricing strategies we're seeing out there right now. Like the non-deluxe deluxe figures for an extra $10 because it's a popular character and we threw in an accessory.
Yep, finally addressed that. So I think that's enough of this. So let's go ahead and move on. Oh, hold on. Dweef. Why is it like this? There we go. So, we're going to move on now to CartoonBrew. Now, CartoonBrew is a allegedly animation-centric blog sphere sort of thing, right? And they got in trouble a few days ago. And I'm going to show you why they got in trouble, if this thing works right for me. It is not working right. Give me a moment. I've got to go fix this on the window capture. One moment. At least I think so. Give me a second here. Wrong one. Oh, duds. One of these. There we go. Okay, so CartoonBrew got in trouble for doing an article. Thank you, Strawberry Shortcake, for $5 super chat. Doing an article talking about Rebecca Sugar buying a cozy $2 million house in the LA suburbs. The property features an impressive yard and a detached remodeled garage that can function as a guest suite or office space. And people on Twitter lost their minds about this. They said that CartoonBrew doxed Rebecca Sugar, which, for the record, doxing is when you find and publish somebody's private information. So, and yes, I see that I'm being harassed by my kids. It's fine. It's fine. The wife accidentally pranked the wife. Now, it's publishing private information. The truth of the matter is, if I wanted to right now, go onto the white pages or anything, I could find Rebecca Sugar's address on a public database. Public, Public. But here's the bigger kicker. Two bigger kickers, actually. Number one, CartoonBrew, this is one specific writer, but a lot of CartoonBrew articles have come out defending people like Chris Savino or John Kay. Didn't get canceled then. No. But you talk factually about Rebecca Sugar. That's when problems happen. And I thought firstly, like maybe they had done, and of course I can't find the original article. Or did I? But in the original article, you'd assume maybe they point out that this might not be congruous with perhaps Rebecca Sugar's political ideals or whatever. But no, they're just mad because they say they doxed Rebecca Sugar. But here's the funny thing. Really, really funny thing. And I do mean it is genuinely hilarious. It's the funniest thing in the world. Like, no one can think of something funnier. But let me see if I can find if this has the date listed on it for this specific one that I found. One moment. Aha. This does. So we're going to move on to another article that I just happened to find through magic and sorcery on Geneon Animation, because another complaint they had was that why is this on an animation blog? Why is it an animation blog? Well, here's the kicker. This is Geneon Animation. Now, this was published December 3rd. Steven Universe creator Rebecca Sugar buys cozy $2 million house in the LA suburb. And I'm 90% sure. 90% sure this is the exact same article. Written probably by the same guy, because the only attribution given here is to anonymous, which, whatever. And here's what it lists. All right, now watch out. I'm gonna dox somebody. It just lists that the size of the house, who she is or who they are, who they're married to. Really nice pictures of the house. This is, in fact, a very, very nice house. I mean, look at that bathtub. That's rad. Could do without the wallpaper, though. Nice little backyard set. There's the garage. And that's it. That was all that was probably in this article. But, we're looking at this, and we're like, there's no way, right? Because this is December 3rd. But here's the funnier thing. Like, even funnier than that. Let me go ahead and pull this up. So, this is brand new breaking news, right? That got them in so much trouble. Except for one very, very unfortunate fact for those people who were very upset and freaking out about this. Go ahead and move this again, because unfortunately all these pages format differently. It's not a new article. Can everybody see the date on this sucker? Because it says to me September 2nd. 2022, and it is in fact the same house. Tells you the location, tells you all the same nonsense every other article has. So this is news that's like 4 months old, 3 or 4 months old, from a completely different website called dirt.com, which exactly what you would think it is. This is what people are upset about? Really? In fact, let me check something real quick. I'm curious, because this was written by a James McLean. Whereas the other one on CartoonBrew was written by Jamie Lang, perhaps a pseudonym. Who knows? My point is, this is what people freaked out about. And I'm not seeing an actual address here. Again, you could look it up. I mean, all the Predator busting I've done, I just find it on Intellius or the white pages, because I can find their personal information they leave literally running around all over the place, and then I put that information in and I find their addresses and report them to the cops. So they're freaking out about this because, and I saw some tweets about it saying, well, you're giving Steven Universe haters more ammunition. Who cares? No matter what you like, somebody's going to hate it. Somebody's going to be angry about it. So who cares? Grim says, yeah, I'm certain CartoonBrew cited dirt. Yeah, but they're mad about an article that's months old that doesn't actually show a dox. This is all public information. I hate to tell you guys, but when a house has been listed for sale, you can still find the house. You can find my house listed for sale from back before the wife and I bought it. This is dumb. This is so doggone dumb. No wonder it's Steven Universe fans mad. They're mad about the wrong thing. These people have defended child predators. But these morons are mad because, well, you gave Steven Universe haters more ammo. Dude, the show itself gives them far more ammo than some goofy CartoonBrew article. So doggone stupid. Now, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that this might be a little overblown? I mean, all the things you can give CartoonBrew grief over, this is the thing? Are you kidding me? These people don't live in reality. It's embarrassing. No, Trey, you have not. It's actually what we'll be missing. Mr. Gamer, can I pay you a visit one day? Perhaps. Perhaps. Or we can meet up at a convention, and I can bully some nerds. Yeah, this is what people got mad at, because nobody cared enough to look into it. I saw, like, some people did some videos, but I haven't looked at it, but I'm pretty sure it's overblown there, too, because they're younger cartoon fans. So, let's go ahead now and go looking for a very specific interview with everybody's favorite bootlicker. We want more Thundercats. Copy link address. I'm going to have to resize this again. How are you guys liking the new stream setup, by the way? Ah! Stop. He even gave it a goofy little theme song. Are you kidding me? This is so weird. I don't even know if it's right to call it cringe. Because, like, I have no problem with people, like, putting their hearts into things they love. But when you're doing a theme song so something makes more product for you, like, I think you need a CAT scan and a beating. Maybe not in that order. Okay, so what I'm going to do, what's your opinion on Fanta? I don't have one. I don't drink it. So let's go ahead and we're going to do this 2x speed because I don't want to deal with this. I just don't. Let's find out what nonsense we're dealing with. Actually, we're going to do it 1.5 so I don't hurt too many people. Me and the club tonight.
Hello, Brian, and welcome back to another Thundercats discussion. How are you doing?
Doing all right. Doing all right. It's nice and warm in this room and cold outside. So I'm in a nice toasty room. I just need a little blanket and a hot chocolate.
It's warm because of the hellfire of your lies.
How are things on your end in terms of finishing off for 2022? Running around?
Well, yes. I mean, it's always that fine thing where everybody's like, oh, the end of the year is December 31st. But if you work in manufacturing, the end of the year is January 30th because December 31 means nothing to the Chinese factories. They keep working right through, but January 30 is a big deal. But yeah, there's piles of stuff over here of stuff that's all leaving last week, next week, the week after next, the first week of January. There's an amazing amount of product coming out of the factory.
Really, I wonder how he's going to respond to the reviews of the Silverhawks. It looked like somebody threw their face into a tractor trailer.
That's exciting because, like you said, Chinese New Year it's always like your deadline when it comes to things have to leave, but then otherwise it gets pushed to March, and then from then on only there's another delay. So what?
Yeah, you miss all of February, and then with March, everybody's like, oh, they're back to work in March. March means they're working at about 50% speed. Not everybody's come back. People leave, they don't come back. And then April, they're 75%, and May, they're 100%. So February through part of
Yes, John. Like fire, hellfire.
March, you've got a good 6 weeks at least where you're not really getting much of anything done. And yeah,
no, that's a problem. So what has shipped or what?
Exalted, my friend, compadre, buddy. Number one, you should totally boost the Palatoys Action Force tweet I made, please. Secondly, you should know better, man. You should know better. You've seen my reviews of these products. They never put out anything that actually looks like the renders.
Is still meant to ship before that January deadline?
Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff. And I've got a bunch of stuff. Okay.
Sure, buddy.
Mandora and the electrocharger. There we go. Mandora and the electrocharger have shipped.
And both of them are inaccurate and will not look as they're supposed to.
From the factory. They shipped last week. So these are out the door. I don't know what you have or haven't seen on these lately, but okay.
That's huge.
This is the most unglamorous unboxing ever.
Anything unboxed from you is unglamorous, you dirtbag. I do not like it, Rambo.
3 hands for this. There's the no, I can't see you, but there's the electrocharger.
Okay, not gonna lie, I do like the box. Although it does kind of look like the custom toys I see occasionally on carded for Thundercats. Panda Girl 16. $10 super chat. Thank you. Super7 is just dumb, and I hope they have fun in the 6th Circle of Hell and love the new stream setup. Your character is very cool. Well, thank you.
This is the part people care about.
That's fantastic.
So,
Sebastian, is there anything people do that you don't think is fantastic? What is your metric for fantastic? Is your life really so boring you think that's fantastic?
these two shipped last Friday, so these have left the factory. So there's the electrocharger, looking as beautiful as ever, and Mandora shipped along with it. So I'll be better about this one. So,
That's a wise idea, Grayman, because good God, they're bad.
and there's Mandora.
Wow.
So those shipped.
I wonder how terrible the female body on Mandora is going to be, because if it's anything like Pumaira or Chitara, it's going to be god-awful.
Last Friday.
150, I think.
There's literally
Tune.
like so many boxes here. It's crazy. Let's see.
You're doing all right, Mister.
Next
Hope you're doing well.
Silverhawks 2. Well, actually, ThunderTank, but we'll do ThunderTank last because it's really big. Silverhawks 2.
For the record, those of you who don't know, Brian tried to fool the public at how big the ThunderTank actually is by forced perspective, and immediately got bodied for it.
There's the
We don't care about Wave 2 of Silverhawks. You guys haven't even put out Wave 1.
Throne. So Silverhawks 2 will ship either first week or second week of January. So we're receiving we've gotten final samples of most everything, and we're in pack out. So there's your Throne.
For those of you who don't know, thank you, Salo Don, for $5. Much love to you, Lyle Conway. Much love back to you, Salo. You're doing God's work out there, quite literally. But this throne he's showing, like, they want $55 for that throne. By the way, the throne doesn't have any accessories. It doesn't have any articulation. It's a single molded piece of plastic that they want $55 for. $55 for it. Are you kidding me?
As everybody knows, it's much bigger.
That's beastly.
Huh?
That's beastly.
It's gonna fit a giant man in it. Come on. Let's see. These are a little bit earlier samples because
Super 7
our designers live everywhere, and they've got the final samples. So these are a little bit earlier samples. But so Wave 2, obviously.
You know, the sad thing is, like, in terms of sculpting, granted, articulation's garbage. Like, the time they do non-human monsters is good. I mean, when you have Monster, I mean, he looks good, but you try to get him to do anything, it's going to be terrible, and I'm sure he's got QC issues at the wazoo.
Wow.
You know, and it's not exactly the right, obviously not the final box on this one, but these were sort of some of the early blister pack outs and everything else like that. This guy weighs a ton. I'm hearing things about him. But there he is. Bluegrass. And you can see the updated paints on him a little bit. I can pull him out maybe.
Updated paints. It's a little bit more metallic, but they're not the chrome that people would actually want, that you can do. Is the Bird going to review Wave 4 TC? Actually, yeah, I've got the entire script done. I've just been kind of busy with a lot of stuff and trying to get other things out, but that's actually on the docket for the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping to have that out early January. I want to get the Wave 4 and 5 reviewed before the newest wave shows up. Why are they showing us Wave 2 when they don't have Wave Up? Same reason they charged us for like 3 waves of Ultimates, and actually 4 waves of Ultimates and 3 waves of Reaction Figure Thundercats before having Wave 1 out.
A little bit.
Oh, what I was saying is, like, the entire reason why they're choosing to go with metallic paint instead of chrome, he claimed it's because it won't adhere to the plastic. The reason for that is because, for some reason, a lot of people in toy manufacturing have gone to PVC instead of ABS. And for those of you who don't know the difference, PVC is essentially what you'll find, like, in piping for a mobile home or in a lot of other houses, or what you use as a toy sword when you're 5. But ABS is what you'd find in, like, a Gundam model kit, and what you find in, like, all the other toys you used to have when you were a kid that you could beat a man to death with now.
And then
Grim, you would be infuriated. I'm just going to say that.
go. See if I tilt it back, you can get the light in there a little bit better.
If you guys want to know how bad these figures are from production design to sample, the faces are so bad, Pixel Dan threw shade at them. And Pixel Dan isn't throwing shade at anybody. And that's not because he's just so wholesome, it's because he's a shill. But he disliked it so much he threw shade.
But Silverhawks 2 is either leaving the first week or second week of January. So they're in production. We've got more final samples like this one, but they're at the designers' houses and not my office right now.
If you spent less time on the packaging and more time on the toys, they wouldn't suck. Because, Samuel, a butthurt fanboy who wanted more toys begged them to.
But those are, in production and will be out the door. On Silverhawks 1, let's see here. Silverhawks 1 is a little bit further behind than Silverhawks 2, but basically on the same timeline. There's second week, third week, fourth week of January X Factory for those. This is not the correct paint though. So we keep updating. The paint becomes so problematic with these joints, so we keep updating paint. So this is not the correct paint.
Well, maybe if you guys didn't have... Wait, how do you have trouble with those joints when they're so basic? It's so dumb.
Obviously, everybody's gonna be like, "What happened to the paint?" It's like, it's not the correct paint, but it's the correct blister and box pack out.
That's beautiful and shiny.
And then,
Of course, you like the shiny.
Yeah, I have that
Somebody
silver
just needs to
right?
jingle
As you can
keys
see,
in
this
front
is
of you
not
and
the
you're
correct
happy.
inside, but pack out blister.
Super 7 cannot produce women. Hasbro at this point can't either. I don't know why they even try. Just admit it.
Samples and everything to ensure it sits in the box correctly and survives shipping, all that kind of stuff. But these come out second, third, fourth week of January. Let's see here. Then that's gotten away from your namesake. We're not talking about Thundercats here. So
Well, it's the same universe.
Yes, it's true. Then we've got a toy version.
For those of you who asked me, or Amazing Brew asked me about Gross Wiseman, I mean, he did Gargoyle, so fantastic. And worked on Spectacular Spider-Man, so he's great.
This is an upgrade. I know the earlier Chitaro showed at the wrong point.
I'd be happy if they had double jointed knees and elbows and a butterfly joint and proper colors and proper proportions and just didn't suck.
So here's toy color lino.
Come on, monkey, clap. Clap for
Man,
him.
that's brilliant.
Oh, there you go, monkey. There you go.
And then, the back, the animated.
Yes.
The LJN black and white burst. Let's see here.
Dude, expanding. I saw that. Like, I was actually dumbfounded. Like, how in the world are they so bad even the toy guru dick sucker doesn't like them? Holy crap.
Chitara toy. So this is an updated, more a correct color. So for anybody that's going to take a screen capture right now and tell me, it's like, trust me, I'm in fluorescent lighting inside a room going through my computer's camera, through the internet, Dagman's computer. So the color may look off on your screen, but I assure you in real life that this matches the toy.
Yes, and I'm sure that it also has janky legs, janky thighs, superfluous bust rotation. It's just as much garbage as the last one. What do you like better, Transformers or Beast Wars? Well, I mean, Beast Wars is top tier. It is god tier Transformers.
So there's Chitara. And she's been updated since the one that we showed at New York. There's Monkey.
That's the vintage toy.
If I go this way, it's all glare. If I go that way, it's
I mean, it's actually not. It's still off. But I'll review that when it comes.
not glare. Find that just perfect zone. But
Yeah, I can see it
great.
perfectly.
I don't have the Mumra, the final Mumra toy color here, but I think we also know what he's like. Here's an invisible tiger.
I wonder if he's going to show whether or not it has the elbow pad this time.
And we've got a cool metallic blue on there. So there's your invisible tiger.
Pull him out. Show the elbow pad. I bet
Wow,
it's still
that's-
missing.
I'm trying to make it like so you can see it without it being
Yeah, Exalted. I saw that. Really rad. I wish I could find one in my area. What's your opinion about the new Transformers movie? It's going to suck.
completely glare. But there's a little bit of white paint on the logo. There's white paint on the detail in the hair and on the forearms where he's got the stripes. And then maybe I take it out. Then we could.
Yeah, take it out. Take it out. I want to see if it has the elbow pad. That
So
you
when
said
is he
everybody
shipping?
had unpainted.
I don't know if he makes it out before. I think he might make it out before Chinese New Year too. It's like we're all these delays are finally catching up, and while we're catching up, we're also obviously trying to get ahead on things too. So yeah, mess with these.
So he's
Come
in
on,
production
man.
at the moment, right?
I will confirm all that with you. Everybody's gonna be like,
Chocolate watermelon. I mean, I love the Ghost and Molly McGee. That show's adorable.
I thought he was, but
Oh, and I love Craig of the Creek too.
then at the same time, I don't want anybody to say that he's actually in production yet. Like it might be like, oh, he's going into production next week or something. But he's very, very close. So we're getting ahead on a bunch of these things.
Are you now? We'll see. We'll see.
Now I gotta get them out.
Well, stupid if you didn't over-engineer the packaging.
But for everybody, there's your pad on the elbow.
Only took you 2 different toys to find it, dickhead.
So new tooling. Correct tooling. Let me rephrase that. Correct tooling. But that's invisible.
Yeah, Exalted. I actually got mine in today, or yesterday rather. I haven't gotten a chance to mess with them yet.
Full Tigra.
You can see clearly that paint there on the logo. It works perfectly with that.
Stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, white. Yeah. Try to drop them in there. We got that, and then there's what's there.
Oh boy, here we go.
For scale.
Yes, we get
so
it.
that was not an exaggeration. Those pictures of Josh with a tank. People saying it was photoshopped. It's not.
It's what?
I'm glad you're this
You
cheers
say
you up,
what?
Brew. I'm sorry to hear your feelings.
That it was photoshopped.
No. Here's the ThunderTank.
Haven't seen Transformers reactivated other than like the promo, so it's probably gonna suck.
In the box. It's gigantic.
Why not make a version 2 with the elbow pad? Because that takes effort, Smith. They'll probably do a toy color version.
This is gonna hold everybody. But this is the final thing, and these start shipping. These start shipping in 2 weeks. I'm actually going to email you some photos of like the factory of like just piles of parts and stuff, so you can have them to drop in.
Baby Bunny gets. I love Godzilla. I have like the 2 foot tall 2014 Godzilla. I have several Godzilla monster arts. I have a couple of NECA Godzilla stuff. I love Godzilla.
So right now, everybody, Eggman's going to drop on some images from the factory. But yeah,
Congratulations, it's factory images. I don't care.
yeah, they're basically, done. Like it's going to be a conveyor belt that goes all the way through January, but they're basically done with the first batches of them, and they're just boxing them up and packing them. And then I think the first container comes to the factory either on the 18th or the 19th, and then they just start rolling every week.
That's going to be a struggle to film when I get it done, but I'm totally reviewing that, and I'm going to be brutal.
Until the end of January. So it is here and big and gigantic and heavy, if you hear me say
Yes.
that. It's like,
And the box art is still god awful, and you can tell that the dude just traced toys. Like, I've seen this guy's work. He did the work on the reaction figure art for the Masters of the Universe that Super7 did. So I know he's a good artist. And I know this isn't his best work. And when I called this out on Instagram, when it was announced and said essentially that Brian's doing a worse job of maintaining Thundercats than Roar, that dude got so mad he showed up on his personal account and came after me. Which is adorable, Brian. I love the fact that you did that. I also love the fact that you attacked a Chinese reviewer claiming he had inaccurate or stolen product because he gave your Raphael a negative review. Remove yourself from the census, dirtbag.
the thing is so heavy, it's crazy. In a good way.
And it's still one piece. It's not like you have to assemble the paws or anything. It's like we discussed before.
It's all one piece.
Okay.
All one piece.
It's all one piece, and I'm guessing that the bay doors probably are not tension, meaning they're going to flop around. I'm guessing the arms are going to be loose, because these people do not pay attention to anything.
The only parts that change are if you want the solid cover versus the clear cover.
Yes.
Let's see here. Josh was also texting me something, but I was like double checking some dates, but everything seems fine. That was a quick run through of what did we do? 2, 4,
Hey,
9.
Kickers. Well, the thing is,
Bunch of figures.
I don't think he ever had passion for Thundercats. The entire reason why he has Thundercats because he lost the Masters of the Universe license, and he thought it was an equivalent license to gain, which it's not, by the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff leaving literally like right now to next week from everyone. So it's finally catching all back up, which is overdue and great because Lord knows it's been killing me.
It's definitely an exciting time to be a Thundercats fan right now because you've got
Well, of course you can play with it, Jordan.
everything just coming and coming and coming and coming, and then you are surprising us with wave upon wave upon wave of action figures that are fantastic. So you have showed off some
That is correct, Toon Logic.
wonderful teasers at DesignerCon recently, and we've now seen many of those already. So what I wanted to find out from you, Wave 7 that you showed off, that the factory output that you had there of Wave 7?
Their manga was grossly inaccurate, by the way.
That was
And charging $55 for Snarf is asinine.
that the same as a toy fair in New York? Was those
It was the same as Toy Fair.
Okay.
Or not Toy Fair. I assume you mean New York Comic Con.
Yes, yeah, come on.
Yeah, it was the same. It was 3D outputs that had been painted.
Snarf is for some people a sensitive point in terms of the size of the figure versus the cost of the figure, but there's a lot of reasoning behind the tooling and everything that goes in that justifies the price point, and obviously it's also split across the wave that you build everything in, like we discussed before.
Would you stop finding excuses for this guy and sucking his dick, Sebastian? It can't be much to suck on, first and foremost, but Snarf does not magically have more parts and more tooling than anybody else. Are you kidding me? God, you're stupid.
What can you comment about Snarf should not be cheaper or lower in price?
It's a hard one, because if we start going through like every single figure and being like, oh, this one's a little over, we got to charge more, and this one's a little under, we got to charge. He evens out with a couple of the other characters in the line that have a little bit more stuff and are a little bigger that are still at 55. The economics of the world with inflation, international currency exchange. I know everybody's just like, oh, it's the dollar's strong, you should be able to get more.
Then why are you able to not be able to match Valaverse's abilities? Because they're a smaller company than you, Brian. They have updated articulation. They have more parts for their characters, because you've been downing carts ever since Wave 1.
In China, and it's like, the factory's still all bill in dollars. They don't bill in yuan. It's everything's constantly getting more expensive. It's never getting cheaper overseas. And
oh god, Jesse, I'd kill for a line of either like NECA, because they seem to have actually gotten their crap together with their Turtles line, or like Figuarts. Thundercats would just be amazing.
So as we continue to move along with that, we're trying to be sensitive to price and try not to raise it as infrequently as we can. And so, yes, you could sit there and argue that Snarf is a little cheaper.
Unfortunately, Smith, you'll probably never see third-party Thundercat figures. It's just not big enough to, justify that by any third-party maker.
But there's definitely other figures in that wave that are a little more expensive than we were.
Yes, Toon. Perhaps Snarf has a top, middle, and bottom, like an Engine of Vengeance. Perhaps.
Would have liked, and it kind of all evens out. We usually take that jump from 55 to 65 when it becomes just a little too much to bear. Usually, most people can.
Incorrect, don't. The best Snarf was the plush one.
Look at a figure and go, okay, I get it. But in terms of like where Snarf is and some of the other stuff, Snarf still has a bunch of extra parts. Every part is a cavity that requires another amount of steel around it. And so at a certain point,
Snarf Raw.
There's no science to this, so there's no way anybody listening can put a formula to it, unfortunately. But it's like, even though you have all these,
I never had that experience with NECA stuff, especially not recently.
You keep adding cavities. It's one thing when it's a bunch of little things sometimes, because you can knock those all in together. But when it becomes heads and torsos and those big tails and stuff like Snarf has, it's like, well, every one of those cavities,
I know, you're making
if it was a piece this big versus a piece
this
big, it's still kind of the same price.
When you go from a piece this big
to a piece that big, then it really escalates. And a lot of times when you'll see,
because Ivan, they want an absurd amount for the license. That's why.
And when you get into some of those really big figures, depends. A lot of them are solid, but if you can make them hollow, then your plastic cost is less. There's a bunch of stuff that goes in there. So,
like, Warner Brothers doesn't even really know what it owns concerning Thundercats. For example, the most viewed video on my channel is an upload of the Thundercats Lost Intro, quote unquote Lost Intro. Never been copyright struck, never been copyright claimed, because Warner Brothers doesn't know they own it. Lio, if you think if TC was done by the same team doing G.I. Joe Classified, it'd be amazing, minus the BS shipping and distribution issues, of course. No, I don't think it would be. They try to make it Fortnite compatible for the first wave. I'll put it this way. Like, okay, this is not something I often talk about, but the Baroness from G.I. Joe is a very attractive woman. She has very defined curves. Look at the Classified Baroness. She does not look like any rendition of Baroness beforehand. They do not know how to do in bodies. They limit her articulation. Hasbro is recently getting their feet under them about classifieds. I don't think they know how to handle Thundercats.
Snarf is deceptively not as cheap as you would hope him to be in manufacturing. It's like he's 10% less than some of the other stuff, but some of the other pieces and parts on the other figures are 5 and 10% more. As an aggregate, it pretty much is a wash. So, but I can understand why people would say that. It makes sense, especially when we've used the justification in the past for larger figures to be more expensive.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, we've talked about the coloring of the figures a while back when it comes to basing it on animation cells versus what was on the TV itself. Now, a character like Mongor, for example, on the TV screen, the inside of his face was more pink than what it was on perhaps an animation cell. So, and some skin tones may appear darker on the TV and lighter in person on the cell. So, when it comes to that, do you have a style guide that you are instructed to follow, that it has to be like this because Warner Brothers says this is how it must be?
No, not very much. A lot of times it's, you can also look at like which conversion of the original animation have they used, and they'll be darker or more yellow or more blue or lighter.
What part of cell colors do you not understand, you mushmouth simpleton? But thank you for letting us know that the excuse isn't the style guide. So thank you for that. God, you're stupid. Use the animation cells. We're not talking about the transfers. We're not talking about Anything else. Use the animation cells.
And then what medium are you watching it? Like, you can go back to any one of these animations, and grab a screenshot and then go look for other versions and other places where it's being played and make the exact same screenshot. And every one of them will be a different shade. They're all in the same family, but they're in a different shade.
Which is why you should go by the cell colors, you mushmouth moron. Say, Lyle, do you plan on getting Legacy Lyle Convoy or one of the newer figures from the same wave? I actually do.
And it, usually somebody's perception of what the correct color is the color they saw on TV as a kid, not necessarily the color you saw on TV as a kid.
Which is why you should use cell colors, but you don't, because you guys just literally go to Google Images to get your references.
The color I saw on TV as a kid. So, we just try to go through everything and make our best judgment on what the correct or as close to correct. And a lot of times it is looking at the cell and the intention. Sometimes
the cell is the intention, you idiot.
Cell's just never translated that way on screen, at which point then we'll make a shift. But if there's a pretty big disparity across all the iterations and all the different, like the DVD looked like this, the VHS looked like this, the on-air looked like this, the Laserdisc looked like this.
Which is why you go by the cells, as you've been told, as you have been instructed, as you have been told per my initial email that I had sent to you, by way of Toy Bro, your biggest shill, you use the animation cells because that was the intended color. That was exactly what the characters were supposed to look like. It does not matter about window tint. It does not matter about television tint. What matters is the initial desire, and you have been told this. I'm sorry you don't know what telecine is, but that's a you problem.
Then we'll triangulate to what is, I guess, it's the lowest common denominator. Makes it sound wrong, but what is that sort of the best middle ground that can satisfy everybody in terms of color? Because
cell colors, you retard.
Everybody has a passionate opinion about some of those very subtle color tweaks. As opposed, as a whole, they'll be like, yeah, it's right, but specifically, like that aqua is a hair bit too yellow for me.
I find Geek Dad Life to be weak.
Kind of thing.
Okay, that makes sense. So just as we finished with Wave 7's pre-order, you hit us with another surprise, and that is obviously Ghost Jaga on time for Halloween. Mm-hmm. And that pre-order.
The Ghost Jaga, who's completely inaccurate, because when he was in the ghostly form, he never had that belt, never had that sword. That was only when he was in flesh color, when he appeared before all the other Thundercats, and once in Thundercats Ho Part 4.
Closed last week. So can you tell us, that was a Super 7 exclusive. Will it be available anywhere else?
No.
Like Big Bad? Was it only available for you, or will Big Bad also have it on sale?
Currently, it's only available for us. If Big Bad ends up having any, it's because they order it from us like anybody else does. But there's definitely a couple figures that will be coming out across different lines during the next year that will be exclusive to Super 7. No different than there's been some figures in the past that were exclusive to Big Bad or EE. We're just we're going to try to have a couple for ourselves.
Okay. So now with this Jaga figure, you teased before.
Well, it is a personal preference for him. It's Brian's personal preference. Same reason why he doesn't have like competitive articulation. It's because he doesn't want it.
That it might be a figure in one of the waves, but now you've released it on its own. Was there a reason, or did you try and mislead us?
No, it was never that pre-planned or nefarious. It was more that it was originally something we were considering putting in a line, and as we kept evolving what the future lines were going to be, it's like, well, we got to have this character. We need this. It's like, where does Ghost Jaga fit in? Where does Ghost Jaga fit in? Because he is he's very important in the show, but he's also a variant of a figure we've already released. So are we taking up a new slot, old slot? It's that constant dialogue, no different than we've talked about before, where you're like, oh, if it's a repaint, does that take away from something else? We have these conversations continually. And he was ready to go, obviously. So we just kind of decided, rather than him taking a slot in the next wave, we could just release him on our own. And then if he's a figure you want, great, you can grab him. But it's that same thing we talked about before, which when you get to that second version of the character, is it an essential? Or is it some collectors are really going to want it and it's okay for other collectors to not want it? And Ghost Jaga sort of felt more like that, which is what we typically do at conventions and other things, but there's really not that many conventions happening right now. Just New York and San Diego are really.
The ghost form of Jaga was the most common form of Jaga. God, you're stupid.
The big two.
Sebastian is such a shill that he helped the He-Man.org message board create a safe space for Thundercat toys where you can't be critical. White Knight's okay. It's got issues.
So we took him out of like a core part of the line and said, okay, we're going to treat him as sort of a variant. And in so, then we will find an alternate way to release him. And then we decided to just make it a Super 7 exclusive.
Okay, now talking about variants, Jaga, his costume had that belt on, which was also seen in the cartoon in some episodes, and some episodes he didn't have it. So that is now the first time that we've got that belt on him, and also that other sword that he had in
I was
some
gonna
of his
say,
battles.
the other sword as well. Yes.
So now we've got the ghostly versions of those, and there was a missing head. Once again, I've mentioned it before, and obviously this is just a preference. So would we maybe see a younger Jaga as a variant somewhere down the line?
I'm gonna write it down again. I'm just gonna go.
All Sebastian wants to know is if he's getting more toys. Sebastian, remove yourself from the gene pool.
Young Jaga head. Just so I keep it over here for now. At some point, it might be it'll be the Eggman pack, and we'll make the pack that all it is here's all the parts that I need from other characters repainted here and all this, and we'll put it all in one box. It'll be the Eggman pack.
Beat yourself.
So
the Thundercats.org pack. Let me rephrase that. It's the Thundercats.org pack.
Yeah, and it comes with like free disappointment and a side of chivalry.
So tell me now, with this pre-order that just closed, we got another surprise, and that is the reptilian wave.
Yes, and all the reptilians are using the slide body, even though they're supposed to be smaller because they're minions and the ears are too big and the colors are wrong and the details are wrong, but Sebastian doesn't care.
We've got three different reptiles in there, and what do you classify this as? 7.5, like you did with Mandora, or is it just it's not wave 8?
It's not a wave. It's a repaint. Obviously, there's new tooling that's going into it, but it's sort of once again what would have been a convention exclusive or retailer exclusive. Originally, it was planned to be a retailer exclusive, but as we all know, business slowed down for a lot of people this back half of the year, and all of a sudden, retailers became very nervous about it. So we instead opened it up to everybody, and so it's sort of like a retailer / convention exclusive, but you can get it from everywhere. And the thinking behind it, of course, was obviously, if you've got Scythe in hand, which I assume anybody that's made it this far into this video is like, I've got Scythe. It's such a great figure, and it feels so great.
Yeah, Scythe's pretty solid.
We were just like, we got to do something else with Scythe. And we just kind of came back to the idea of like, well, what if we make, in army builders, we make the other reptilian soldiers, because there's different ones with different armor and different colors.
So just forget about all the color tints to make different. Yep.
We figured that's a really cool thing to make. Once again, not something that everybody needs, but there's definitely collectors that will be like, oh, I've been waiting for that. I want them all. I love it. And it's completely fine for somebody else to be like, that's not a core character. It's not a core part of the line. I don't need that.
Okay, so I myself would definitely, I'm so excited to get these reptilians. They've been something that I didn't expect to see so early on at all. So, I myself was thrilled. Those reptilians are in the opening sequence of the cartoon. So you see them every single time, whether you watch episode 1 or episode 100. So they're always there. Now, there's just a few questions that has come up about these guys. On the descriptions, it says that they've got the gripping hands and expressive hands. But on the promo pics, it looks like they're both a set of gripping hands. Is it expressive or gripping hands? Or both?
I know they have to have the gripping hands, I think, to hold the weapons. I would assume that they have both. If we messed up on the promo image and have gripping hands in their hands plus gripping hands loose, then that's just an error in our promo images. But they should have both sets of hands.
Okay. And then another thing that's also mentioned on there is the mace. It says it's a chained mace, but it looks like it's plastic. Is it the plastic mace, or does it have a chain like with Monkey?
I think it has a little metal chain. Okay. That's what I believe. I believe it does. Okay. That's what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
So of course I'm going to be completely wrong.
That's cool. So
I believe it. I believe it is a chain. Yes.
Now we've got these three as versions of Slide, obviously using the buck, the main buck. Now, what about the other?
My opinion of the Super 7 figures is that they are not worth the money. Is there anything of actual value going on for the rest of this doggone thing? Let's speed this sucker up. We're going into ludicrous speed. Gold standard third-party companies, Fans Toys. God, I can't remember their name, but they do the Legends class ones. But it's not Mecha Fan Toys. I can't remember all of them.
Mutants, the monkeys and the jackals. Would that be something to look at?
Well, first we got to make sure that people want to buy these mutants, the reptilians, and if they buy them, I think it's definitely something we can look at. The funniest part is we're like, oh, okay, this will be really easy to do. There's obvious different colors, blah blah blah, and then you get into it. It's like, well, once again, as I said, like
we
talk about like their armor, and it's like, yeah, it just comes off the shoulder across, and it's a belt around the bottom. It still means it's a piece of tooling that's got to be big enough to go around the whole figure. So as much as there's not a ton of plastic in it, the tool is the same size as if it's a whole body for Scythe. It's still just as big. And it's like, oh my god, all right.
It still takes the same volume.
Yeah, it's still the same volume. So as much as it seems like, oh, it's just a little piece of armor, it's like, nah, it's an expensive piece of armor.
Sure it is.
But I don't know. I really like that kind of stuff. But we talked about that before. I love all the paint variants and subtle differences where it's like so you can have a whole lineup of them. That's the stuff I love.
So now,
and if you don't buy it, it's okay. It's okay. I'll buy it.
Yes, definitely. So tell me now, we are now back on track with Thundercats. It seems like that. So when is Wave 8 coming out? Is that still scheduled for roughly February?
New Wave, that was a small
one. If we go every 3 months?
Let me look. Yeah, it's still scheduled for February.
And
I
then
don't think you can see my computer screen when I do that. I don't think so, right? It would be bad if you could.
Sebastian, we're 2 more waves still out with 1, 2, 3 special edition figures still out, and you want to know when wave 8 is? Are you kidding me? I like that.
maybe. So
No.
would that be 4 figures?
Yes,
Or-
it's 4 figures.
Extra item?
I don't think so. No, it's 4 figures. I mean, you just got a whole pack of mutants, and you got a Jaga. Like, we'll just let's get 4 figures out the door. Yeah.
So okay, how many waves have you got planned?
Mastermind Creations. That was the other one I was thinking about.
I believe it is. Is it 3 waves? 1, 2, 3, and then there's 2 special items.
Okay, that is my
So we have 3 waves planned for next year and 2 special items.
Any big items?
Not yet, because this thing has not landed in anybody's hand yet.
All Sebastian cares about is more toys. Sebastian, kill yourself.
Once we get this thing in people's hands, then we can. We talk a lot about stuff. I need to get it in people's hands. I need to make sure people are happy with it. I think they're going to be I think if you've liked anything that we've made, you're going to love this thing even more. So I think people will be overjoyed with it. And once people get it, and they are indeed
Hey, Brian, when's wave 28? When's wave 45? When's wave 3702 delivered in 2048?
overjoyed, and then they say, yes, now give me something else big, then we can start working on something else big. But until that time,
Okay, now
I
that
need you to have this. I'm banging on the box right off screen here. I need you to have this in your hand. I need it to be sitting next door to Snake
Yes.
behind you. And then you go, oh yeah, I need more of this.
okay, so talking about this lovely setup here, it's the wrong setup. So that conversation that you guys have been having, does it maybe include somewhere else to put my figure? My He-Man figures are quite happy with being kicked off.
We've talked about everything under the sun, but once again, like how you deal with Cat's Lair would be complicated. There's a lot of options within ThunderTanks. Within ThunderCat. It's got ThunderTank on the brain. But all of those things, we've said, that's great. Pause. Deliver this. Make sure people want something else. I think you are. And then we can really delve into that.
Why don't you worry about delivering a decent product, stupid?
But I don't want to make the assumption that everybody wants yet another giant thing. I would love to make that assumption, but I'm trying not to get ahead of ourselves. I realize that people are going to say, but you need a pre-plan to be ready. And it's like, I understand that. But that's still, if I get it to you and everybody wants something else, we can still probably have something else by end of the year without too much trouble.
Okay.
So we've done enough thinking about it.
Okay, so the year might end on quite a high note.
Like I said, I really want you guys to get this in your hand, and I want you, when I say I want, but at the same time, if I'm doing this, I know when you get it in your hand, you're going to go, man, this took a while, but these guys spent so much time on this to make sure this is the most perfect thing. And I think you'll be,
I bet it's going to suck, and I'm going to laugh at you.
I think it will exceed all of your expectations. And I'm not saying that as hyperbole or the guy on this side of the camera. I'm saying that as a person that collects toys is like, holy
Let's find out, Brian. Because I can guarantee you it's not going to pass me.
shit, we fucking killed it on this one. Not that we don't try to kill everything, but this one, yeah, this one's
Something to be proud of.
Every single one of the waves you've released have been something catastrophically wrong with them. And you're telling me now that this massive item with a lot more intricate working parts is going to magically be the Slayer. We'll see, Brian. We'll see. And if it's not, I'm going to mail you a personal letter telling you suck.
Definitely, that's a masterpiece.
Like I said, when you get it and you hold it in your hands, like I said, I don't think anyone's prepared for how heavy this thing is. There's gonna be a couple guys out there doing like,
look, just because you can't lift weights because you're a scrawny little nerd from freaking LA doesn't mean other people don't lift weights.
presses and squats.
Okay, cool.
Instead, like you'll have little scales where it'll be like 3 stone equals this, and it'll be like 3 ThunderTanks equals Mini Cooper.
Okay, talking about big things, let's quickly talk about something much smaller. The burbles. When we get something, we move on already. We haven't even got it in hand yet, we're moving on. So we're talking about burbles. Would you consider giving them light up mouths? I've seen some customizers doing that. I know we talked about the possibility of doing that with Lino and Mamara in the LJ toy versions, but is that something that you could do with burbles, for example?
Possibly. I mean, obviously, nothing's impossible. We've talked about a feature similar to that for something else, but we haven't started prototyping it yet. So there's another product, another license where
The way tune is because the corporations that own these IPs that license about to them aren't paying attention.
having a light up feature would be really cool. The thing with light up features in the past is we get all stuck into the weeds of this. Is like, if we do it, I want you to just see it like in the areas I want you to see it, like if it was the eyes. Like I don't want the whole
I
head
would
to
love
kind
a
of
life-size
glow from the
ThunderTank.
inside out. Like we gotta make the rest of it as opaque can get, so that it's just in that area you need. But yeah, we're looking into that on that. What does it cost? What is assembly? What import restrictions do you have? Because all of a sudden now you have a toy with a battery. That's why most things don't ship with the battery included. It might be okay if you put the little thing in there. Well, hold on. Kyle, you want to come around this way? So Kyle's in from San Diego.
Yes.
Now he mostly works on our Power Ranger stuff, but Kyle can say hi to thundercats.org here.
Hello.
Yes. For the record, they also haven't released any of their Power Ranger stuff.
Good.
So, anyways,
Yeah.
Kyle's in town. He's excited about Thundercats and Silverhawks too.
I am. I worked on the first 4 waves. I'm excited to see it continue.
Oh, you worked on the first 4 waves. Congratulations, you're the wordless cockbag.
But you're off screen saying these things. Come on, man. But have you picked up the ThunderTank yet?
Not the box. I'm. Oh my gosh.
You hear that? That's real. That's real.
I don't mean to sound winded. I'm usually pretty strong, but that's pretty heavy. That's no joke.
It's no joke.
So-
See? There you go. An objective secondary opinion who has no bias at all.
Yeah, just somebody
Oh, bullcrap. You work for the company. Your opinion's not unbiased.
Who's checks these signs? No biases here whatsoever.
How long are you here?
I'm leaving now.
Okay.
All right. I'll be leaving now and then I drive back Sunday.
Okay.
So I just want to come say hi and get out of here. But please,
Yep, I gotta finish this.
enjoy.
I gotta finish. I'm a negative. Like, it's not that high. Like everybody's here today. There's no me too. Like we got a whole crew all of a sudden. It's been me all by myself all day. They wait for me to get on the video interview, and then everybody wants to come hang out. Oh, what's going on?
Oh, no, me.
Yeah, Nomi's here. Johnny's here. I saw Christian and Dennis are here. Like we got the whole design team here. You got any questions about it? We got the team. For about 2 more minutes. Okay. Bye guys. See you.
Okay,
So there,
so
we got a bunch of people crashing your interview.
no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Some guest VIPs coming in to make a little cameo.
Yeah.
So other things that with regards to the burbles is there are certain key characters in terms of the burbles, and then there are generic ones that can also be army builders. Have
Is there
introduced us to a
anything
lot of
value here?
different variations of other lines. The opening sequence of the cartoon where Lino has his sword and he's got that red stream of light coming out, and so he holds it up, like what you did with Prince Adam a while back. Is that something that you would consider including as a effects pack or somewhere else in another figure that you could add?
We've actually talked a lot about that transformation sequence before on like how could we do stuff there? Like could you make a sword where you could pull the handle out farther so you know you could like how do we do some of those cool things? But it's sort of taking a backseat to getting the next wave.
You can't even mold Lino to where he can properly raise the sword two-handed above his head, and you're worried about a transforming sword mechanism.
The next set of characters out. But we talked a lot about that same intro scene is so ingrained in people's brains. It's
Yeah, well, you said that the Thundercat cartoon wasn't Japanese in animation. Yeah, I remember. I don't forget, Brian.
that fine line between do you want yet another Lino or do you want a character you don't have at all?
Well, considering the fact you guys had to resculpt the entire Lino buck and did the wrong doggone body again, you don't care. Stop pretending like you do. You'll sell 12 different Linos. You can care less. You've already sold 4.
And we've aired lately too. It's another character you don't have at all. Considering that we just made, we made a frozen Lino, we made a toy color Lino, like we made mirror Lino. It's like, okay, I get it. I've got some Linos. Like, take a break. Take a break, okay?
Now let's have some
But yeah, we
thoughts.
talked a lot about that transformation sequence.
Okay, so I'm going to move over and wind down with Silverhawks.
Okay.
Now, we've seen a lot of videos from people that visited your stands at the last few shows, and it actually now shows the shine on the figures a lot better than what it has been. Now, people have seen this in person, so that has changed a lot in terms of opinions. It's like people understand now what you were trying to explain. So that is at least finally going in the right direction in terms of people accepting this. It is not silver as in bright silver. It is cartoon-based, and sure, it is Silverhawks, but that is what it is on the cartoon scale. You've now told us where you are in terms of the production of Wave 1 and Wave 2. Now, Wave 3, is that still on track for its release date next year?
Yeah. Wave 3 is just fine. Wave 1 and then the downstream implications to Wave 2 have always been the hardest, which is so funny because Wave 2 has overtaken Wave 1. And Wave 2 actually leaves before Wave 1. Wave 3, no issues at all. No issues at all.
Okay, so when can we expect Wave 4 as soon as Wave 2 lands? Because that's usually how it goes. Because Wave
Usually.
obviously we've had it's been
Yeah,
Silverhawks Wave 4.
Hold
Silverhawks
on.
Wave 4 is
Hold on. The
tentatively
entire
scheduled
reason
for
why
March,
Wave 2
but
of
depending
Thundercats
on-
was delayed because it was in the original Chinese factory, but now they were in Super7's factory. Silverhawks didn't have that issue, so why is Wave 2 coming before everything else? What's the new excuse this time?
when things leave the factory and how long they take to get across the water into people's hands. So say Wave 1, because Wave 2 is going to start coming out, you're going to leave in early January. Wave 1 should be leaving in later January, but still in January. You're going to lose
Don't we all, Keckers? Don't we all?
most of the month of February to shipping. And that means things are back to about 28 to 30 days. It means we'll be shipping it to people March, since February is a short month. So people will start getting Wave 2 in late February, depending on where you are in the world, probably in early March. But Wave 1 probably is not going to be hitting people's inboxes until March. So Silverhawks Wave 4 right now is scheduled for the month of March, but it could easily slide into the first couple weeks of April. But it's in that rough timeline, depending on, because I want people to actually receive it. Not like, oh, we got from the factory and we shipped it out, everybody's done. But if you still haven't gotten an order from me or from Big Bad or EE or an international distributor or whoever else, I want you to
I have to
it in
get an
hands and
order
sight.
from your
So you're like,
mom,
oh,
you
I got all
mush
these.
mouth simpleton.
Yes, I need those to go with these.
Okay, that makes sense. So can you put people at ease that we are going to see Copper Kid? Not necessarily in Wave 4, but he is going to get made. It's not like, no,
Oh,
we're not
of course
making
he's
Copper Kid.
Why would we not make Copper Kid?
Exactly.
Come on. There's a lot of characters we haven't made yet, but Copper Kid's the one from the main group that hasn't really been made.
Why don't you address the licensing issues that people like Retroblasting have been asking about, Brian?
So you will get your Copper Kid in time.
Okay, now getting to previously unmade characters. Are we going to see any of them in Wave 4?
No.
Not yet.
There's Wave 4 has a very distinct Wave 4 and Wave 5, and I think even Wave 6 are already in process, are already along the way. So there are some unreleased figures coming up, but they're not in Wave 4.
Okay. So the one thing that a lot of people have commented on, and that's a concern that some of them had with Quicksilver's face, and that is again pictures of people taking photos of the character, wrong lighting, not final product. Do you have any comment on how he turned out versus what was on?
Well, I mean, this one's hard because the body's not painted correctly, but like when they say the face isn't painted correctly, I mean let's see here. The face looks really good. I think there was some
No, it does not.
comments on that it just felt flat to some people, but it's supposed to feel a little flat because it's animated.
That looks
Do you not know what animated means, stupid?
brilliant. That really does look it does not compare to the pictures that has been doing around in terms of.
I think the one that people photographed at New York Comic Con was hand painted and not.
Brian could literally shove an actual turd in your face, Sebastian, and you'd say it was awesome.
Like, matte with masks and stenciling. I'm trying to find the right words, but it's not sort of like production paint versus like here's a hand painted face on this sample figure.
Okay,
does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yes, it does. Okay, so will we see any vehicles for Silverhawks next year?
For Silverhawks, I have to deliver a ThunderTank before yeah, I mean, same thing. It's like, do people want the Tallyhawk? Do people want other things? Very likely, but they will want Tallyhawk if they get a ThunderTank that they love. If they get a ThunderTank that they're just
Tallyhawk comes with Quicksilver. Are you talking about the giant accessory Tallyhawk? Why don't you worry about the Mirage, stupid?
okay with, they might not want a Tallyhawk.
The Mirage, I mean.
Or any other spaceship. I know you had it preferred.
Yeah,
that's fine. And I don't want to be coy or sound like.
Again, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. He never does, but no, everybody. Sebastian even says the Mirage. I mean, you didn't correct him though, pussy.
I'm avoiding the question, but at that price point, I have to get it. You have to deliver it, and I and you have to be confident that you want the next one before I get started on it.
Okay.
That's all.
I mean, you've got the Turtle Van that's also coming out sometime next year, and
Yeah,
that is
early next year. But yeah, same thing. It's making sure people have the confidence in that release as well.
If anybody has any confidence in any of your releases at this point, Brian, it's because they're stupid.
Do you have a release date for that? It is off topic now, but do you have a release date for
On the Turtle Van, we don't have a final release date because we retooled like half the van. I think I don't know if I think it's more like March right now, March, April, depending.
Well, it doesn't matter when you put your tank out because Underground Arsenal and NECA beat the stuffing out of you. Why would anybody want to get a $500 Turtle wagon when they can get a $250 NECA one or a $180 Underground Arsenal one?
On capacity, like it's very close, but it's not close enough that I have
Good
any
book.
degree of confidence
Amazing,
that it will
bro.
be leaving before Chinese New Year. I think I get promised all the stuff that's going to leave, and I feel very good about this. I'm talking about all the stuff we're making. Invariably, they're doing this for me. They're doing this for all the other companies that they work with at the factory. If they tell me a dozen things are leaving by Chinese New Year, one or two of those are going to fall. It's just inevitable
The way it is.
that because the factories. If you think about how everybody once again says December 31st is the end of the year, China says January 30th is the end of the year. So they're rushing to get everything done. They're working overtime, doing whatever they can to get everything done by January 30. But they're trying to do that for every vendor they have. Invariably, every vendor is going to have something that gets bumped. I don't know what. Something's going to happen.
Okay.
Somewhere. So in that regard, where like ThunderTank is done and leaving, I have a high degree. I mean, I know it's going because I can see them. Where Turtle Van's supposed to be, but I feel like that's going to be one of those that if something needs to fall off, that's going to be one of those pieces that falls off.
Okay.
I'd love to be able to
All
be
your stuff
more
falls off,
confident in it, but at the same
dickhead.
time, you're also dealing with the fact that if anybody paying attention to world politics, obviously they ease some of the COVID restrictions in China. But over the last few weeks, there's been a lot of political upheaval in China. None of that makes for factories hitting timelines. None of that makes for people showing up to work as they're supposed to, business as usual. So inevitably, something's going to go wrong. I mean, but isn't that Murphy's Law?
Yeah, always.
Yeah. So somewhere, there's going to be a product that we have that seems fine right now. The other 95% will happen, and 5% something's going to happen. I just don't know which ones, and I probably won't know which ones till about January 27th, 28th. I'll get a call and that says, "Oh, by the way, yeah, this is going to make it." But they want to make it because they want to bill me before they go on vacation.
Of course.
That's the real driving force, is that they want their fiscal year to be cleaned up and to have as much stuff done and paid for before they go away for Chinese New Year. So their impetus is to get things out the factory. But like I said, their impetus is to do that with every company that they're working with.
Yeah, I'm sure their impetus totally matters considering how much they failed. I don't really have anything else I need to say about this thing other than the fact that, as always, Sebastian's proven that he's a dick sucker. And yeah, he's trying to pass the blame on to China and everybody else because God forbid he have any accountability for literally anything in his miserable life. But that's all I've got today. We might have a future stream about a certain idiot we had to deal with this week. But maybe at a future time, maybe later in the week. I hope you all enjoyed the new stream setup. If you like my content, you want to show me any sort of support, feel free to hit me up on Patreon. It's like a $1 per thing I do, which is usually like $4 a month. But feel free to do that if you want to. Got to start selling single pieces of plastic that vaguely resemble Lion-O for $20 each. Mark it up twice that much and sell it to Sebastian. He will buy it. And if anybody criticizes it, he will cry and crap his diapers. But you guys have a good evening, and we will catch you next time with this new stream setup. I hope you all take care.